I love Derrick Lewis, man. He's hilarious, and I actually made my debut with him. But DC is cool too, and I actually fought on UFC 210 and 220 with him. Now we're on 230 together. So I mean, DC is definitely he's got to be. I think he's a 9-1 favorite. So if I had to bet money on it, I'm definitely betting DC. But you obviously can't sleep on Derrick Lewis's power. That dude hits like a fucking Mack truck. And look what he's done. It's not his first time getting a 3rd round knockout. Like he did the same thing against Tybura. So you can't sleep on him. You got to put that dude away.
Cormier is definitely a big favorite. I would say. I don't know the odds, but I would say it's his easiest matchup on paper that he's had in a long time. He's fought, and that's not even like anything bad about. I'm not saying anything bad about Derrick Lewis because Cormier has fought nothing but animals for a long part of his career. And Derrick Lewis he brings an X factor to the game where he can always finish you. You can't take him easy lightly at all. So,
is he going to be able to deal with Cormier's wrestling, Cormier's experience? I mean, this is the level of fighting that Cormier's experience is just significantly higher. But Derrick Lewis has unbelievable power. I mean, his power is fucking no joke, man. If you look at some of his KO victories, he's a brutal puncher. Brutal.
He is, but I think if I'm a big Derrick Lewis fan, but I think if he fights DC like he fought Volkov, it's going to be a tough night for him. I know that it could go anyway, and that one shot from Derrick Lewis can put DC out or anyone in the world out. Mm-hmm. But I just see DC's wrestling, his dirty boxing. I mean, everything. If Derrick Lewis is turning his back to DC like he was with Volkov, I mean, he's going to close the distance. He's going to take his back. He's going to exploit that. He's going to take him down.
Sure, there's a difference between 6'7" and 5'10", though.
That's true.
There's a giant difference in size between Volkov and DC. DC is a real light heavyweight who, in my opinion, could fight in Rafael's weight class. I mean, I think DC really got his diet in order. He could be a 185er.
It's true, but he can flip over Josh Barnett over his head and all sorts of guys.
There's something about that round body type, though. I mean, there really is. Like
the barrel.
The ability to kind of be ungrabbable, you know? And, of course, he has the power and he has the wrestling. So, I mean, he's like a version of Fedor, very similar, very similar.
Seeing him knock out Stipe with one shot like that was stunning. Like, wow. And he was saying that he was doing that in training. He said he hits way harder as a heavyweight. I think just the way he likes to live his life and how he likes to eat, he just has more energy as a heavyweight. He might be a better heavyweight.
I mean, it just goes to show. I mean, it's just, you never know with the beast. I mean, this last one, you thought, man, he's going to be out. He's out. But, he's got that one-punch knockout power. He can drop guys and stuff like that. I think DC's going to win this fight. DC's fought some really tough guys that probably hit a little bit harder and a little bit more dangerous than Derrick Lewis. And, he's been able to defeat them or even deal with them, and get through decisions with them. But I'm excited for that fight. I mean, I'm excited, man, the beast. Love watching him. I'm sure everybody does.
On some level, are you really going to complain about Cormier fighting Lewis? Right? No, you probably wouldn't. It's like, I don't know if that's the best fight. I don't know if that's the most coveted fight I could imagine, but on its face, is there anything necessarily wrong with it? No, not really. But then when you begin to dig a little bit and you're like, well, let's see. You just had Derrick Lewis say on Saturday night he is no way at all prepared for a 5-round fight. I don't know that a fight with Cormier would go 5, but it's a scheduled 5-round bout. It's just an interesting coincidence at a bare minimum. Number 2, as I mentioned, he absorbed 70-plus strikes to the head and 170 total in his fight with Volkov. I mean, he took a bit of a beating in that one. He had an incredible win at the end, but I do believe him when he tells us on the radio here that his face is sore. I mean, that's not the worst thing to have in the world, but you have to wonder how much other damage that he's even aware of has taken place, and is it really medically advisable to go and do what he's doing on such a short turnaround?
I know just as well as you know, and everybody else in the world knows, Daniel Cormier is fisting to maul the fuck out of Derrick Lewis, and I just don't see him getting lucky and catching Daniel Cormier at all. Daniel Cormier is way too smart a fighter. He's fisting to take him down and fucking make him miserable until the fight's over, and that's not an opinion, that's a fact.
It wasn't a good performance from Derrick Lewis. It was a sensational finish. Sensational finish that impressed me because he pulled it out of the bag so late. He knew he was under pressure. He knew if he had to win the fight, it was going to be by knockout, and he went for it and he got it. He has to be commended for that. But the performance itself wasn't good. You know, it was kind of one-sided. He turned his back a lot and kind of was hurt. Now, fair enough, he said that a knuckle went in his eye or a finger, and maybe that was giving him a lot of issues. And if that's the case, then maybe his balls were definitely hard, so he gets a pass, perhaps. He actually said on the post-fight show, Lewis, that he trains 30 minutes a day, not an hour. So I said, you know, you might just want to up those numbers a little bit. You got to think that it's going to be a pretty easy fight for Daniel Cormier. That said, though, he can hit hard. He can hit hard. And one punch, as we know, I know it's the oldest expression in the books, only takes one. And he's a knockout guy. He is a guy that can knock you out. I often talk about it. We have one of those punch bag machines that measures how hard you punch on UFC tonight. Daniel Cormier was at the top. Derrick Lewis came in. He punched that punch bag machine. He nearly knocked the fucking thing over. I swear to God, the entire thing shook. So he hits incredibly hard. Is he the most technical fighter? Is he the most technical martial artist? Hell no. No, he's not. He's got great ground and pound, although I can't see any kind of environment where he ends up on top of DC. And he's got heavy-ass punches. Saying that, he does actually throw some jumping kicks and stuff these days. So, yeah, maybe I'll take that back a little bit. On paper, it's a good matchup for Daniel Cormier. But the fact that he can knock people out, and he does look to do that, makes it a very exciting prospect.
Man, it's hard to sleep on a guy like Derrick Lewis. I mean, the guy's lost one fight in the UFC, and he somehow gets it done every fight. It's hard to go against him. But at the end of the day, DC is the champ, and I think his rest is a really big problem for Derrick Lewis going into that fight.
Cormier. Yeah, but it'd be awesome to just see Derrick Lewis pull off another knockout in the last 5 seconds.
You know, I find Derrick Lewis hilarious, man. I love watching that guy's interviews. It was so funny. Like, they said he gained 500,000 followers after that fight because him and Rogan's interview, whatever. So I just don't see him being able to beat DC. You know, DC's strengths are Derrick's weaknesses. His wrestling, takedown defense. You know, DC's able to fight 5 rounds pretty hard. He's got good cardio. I think Lewis is going to, have trouble in this fight. To me, it seems like a business tactic where the UFC is just trying to get a big fight for the main event, and then they're going to have DC get I think, a fairly easy win, unless Lewis can catch him early first round, and then, be able to fight Brock whenever he's ready. I think that's kind of what they're doing here.
You decide how that fight's going to go. Good. I think that, I don't know that I have changed my stance a lot. I do want to see it. I do want to see Derrick Lewis and Daniel Cormier. I just don't think from a competitive standpoint that Daniel's going to have a lot of problems out there. But I do understand history, and I do understand that Derrick Lewis is currently a 8-1 underdog, which is the exact same amount of odds that TJ Dillashaw had to overcome the night he became world champion. When you look at some of those things, what are you talking about there? What are you talking about when these underdogs, guys, what you're talking about is pressure. What you're talking about is when one guy comes in loose and relaxed. And it may be hard for fans to see this, but athletes of any sport can tell you. They will usually do their best work in practice. They will usually go, gosh, I wish I could compete the way I practice. And they'll never be able to identify why. The why is pressure. You feel a different stress when the lights come on. The rare athletes raise to that occasion. The normal athlete actually lowers a little bit. So he's got to work really hard in practice. He's got to make sure that when I fight at a little bit of a reduced level, I can still win. I can still get my hand raised. That's very normal, but you're talking about the stresses and the pressures, neither of which Derrick Lewis is going to be feeling.
And anyone has a puncher's chance, man, when it comes to this, as Derrick Lewis demonstrated, in his last fight, last 10 seconds, pulled it off, so I'm not going to discount them, but at the end of the day, we're talking about DC, his accolades and all his experience and just his style is, I think is going to go DC's way.
I can't. How you go bet against DC at this point? And then, plus Lewis was just saying, he's not ready for a 5-round fight, and now he has to be ready for it in 3.5 weeks. And I fought 5-round fights, and 3.5 weeks is, especially coming off a fight, that's tough. That's a tall order. So, I got DC all the way.
I think Cormier is going to win. Look, you can never count out Derrick Lewis. Look what happened his last fight. Volkov was winning the entire fight, and then boom. out. So, I just think that athletic-wise, Cormier is going to play to his advantage. I just see Cormier taking him down and just ground and pounding, maybe even submitting him. But, if I was Cormier, I'd try and avoid his power, because that's how he wins fights. He just blitzes people and puts them out. So, obviously anyone could win at any moment, but I definitely think Cormier is going to win that one.